So just about 1 year ago, I started running, and it has completely changed my life. Over the past year, I've run a total of 2 ultra marathons that were both 50Ks on trails, one in Texas and one in Arizona. I ran a total of 0 marathons, 0 half marathons, 0 10Ks, 0 5Ks. So officially, now obviously through training and whatnot, and I guess with the ultra marathons, you hit all those distances anyway, but nothing official on those distances. I know it sounds kind of wild, but if you give me a few minutes, you'll have some more context behind that. And I want to dive deeper into how running has changed me, not only physically, but more importantly, mentally. Right to the context. So about a year ago, I was feeling, I don't want to say stuck or burnt out necessarily, but I was kind of, maybe it was I was bored. I was kind of bored. And with that, I was kind of just like, man, like I need something else. I've been lifting for the past 7-8 years. I don't know, going to the gym a couple times per week at a minimum. Maybe sometimes I'd go 7 days a week because I was bored. I just wanted to do something physically. And through some social media, I guess, influence and just kind of thinking it out loud and like, you know what? Maybe we could try to start running a little bit here and there. We don't have to run crazy distances. We don't have to run marathons, but maybe I wanted to start running here and there because when I would go outside for long walks or hikes, I really enjoyed it. I loved going outside. I loved hiking. I loved mountains. I loved scenery. I didn't like roads and busy streets and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, let's see if I can find some cool places to go on runs instead of go on hikes. And if you can connect some of those dots, that would definitely send you more towards the ultra marathon route because a lot of those, not all, but a lot of those are focused primarily on trails and in what I think are cool places. Now, there are plenty of boring ultras that you can run. By no means is that, fully encompassing what ultras are about. But the longer you go in terms of distance, the easier it is to say, hey, let's just, run this race or have this race out over here near these mountains. Let's go from this mountain to this mountain. Let's go through these trails. There's just more room almost to explore. Whereas obviously you can, meander through the streets of a city and you can get to a marathon distance or an ultra distance or whatever distance you want, but it's not as scenic and it's a little more boring. And so me being bored in the first place, I was like, well, I want to kind of align myself with the interests that I already have to a degree, right? Of being outside and just nature and mountains and scenery, but with almost a new challenge, something that I can kind of work on, something that I can improve at over time and kind of keep me going and get me like unstuck, if you will, from like a physical standpoint. Now, in terms of my training over this past year, it has been a very slow build. I really started running back in the spring of 2023 and built that up over time. I signed up shortly after that for an ultra marathon in the fall, in November, early November of 2023. And then I signed up for one in February shortly after that. I finished the first one. I was like, I got the itch. I was like, yeah, I'm doing that again. And I want to do one that's cooler. And we certainly did. The one that we did in Austin, Texas, or Austin, Texas, it was outside of Austin, but it was close enough. That one was 3 loops around a course. It was a ranch. It was cool. There were some cows. There was some stuff to see. Better than the road, in my opinion. But, 3 laps around a course. I want more than... I'd prefer to not have to do a loop course. I'd like to just go and do an entire loop and have the loop be the entire race or, go from point to point. The race in Arizona that my sister and I did, this one was in Superior, Arizona. It was the Copper Corridor 50K by Viper Running. That race, incredible. I think I have a video from that from a while back. Absolutely incredible. The scenery was awesome. The mountains were awesome. Just the landscape was awesome. The weather was awesome. You just literally couldn't have made a better race. We may have gotten slightly lost, but other than that, it was amazing. So, loved it. But the build up getting into these things, it's not what you think. It's not going to be, this guy started running 50, 60, 70 miles a week, because that's what a lot of people who run marathons do in their training. They build up, and marathons 26.2. Ultras are anything longer than a marathon. The 2 races I did were 50Ks. One was approximately 30 miles, and the other one we did was approximately 32. Now, we added like an extra mile and a half because we got lost, but it was like 32 it came out to be. So those would be kind of like the 50K distance threshold, right? But to run those, like if you're preparing for those, like if you had a coach, like you'd be like, yeah, we're gonna make sure we get this, dialed in. We're gonna be running a lot of miles, all this stuff. I didn't do that. I didn't. I just enjoyed it. I would run 20 to 30 miles per week, and 30 when I originally got up to that in the first, first few months. I immediately got injured. Not bad, but I had some knee issues, shin splint issues, Achilles issues, just stuff like that you're going to go through when you're starting out. And so had to go to PT, rework through, my running gait and all that stuff. And then going into the races, I did not run 30-mile weeks leading into the races. I actually was just under 30-mile weeks, maybe even around a 25-mile week was like my highest mileage week going in to these races. I would run 3 days a week, maybe 4, and I just slowly built up my base over time. I'll tell you, the first one was a lot more challenging than the second one, that is for sure. But either way, I didn't plan to do these as I'm running a race and I'm trying to win. That was not the point by any means. As I like to now say, I run slow and I love it. And I don't give a shit what you want to say. I don't know what my mile time is. I don't know what my marathon time is. I have no idea. All I know is that my zone 2 pace, maybe it depends upon if it's, terrain, what terrain is just under 10 minutes. And I could sustain that for the entire day. And I can run all day if I wanted to. Feed me, give me some water, electrolytes, and I can just run at a 9:45 all day, all night. Well, maybe not all night. And we're going to find out actually in my next race, which I'll talk about in a second. All right, so how has running actually changed me? Well, physically, you can probably imagine body composition. To be honest, my body composition has not changed a lot. It has oscillated over the years because I have been, through the bulking and cutting phases of lifting, which I don't really like anymore. It's just not really enjoyable. I prefer to kind of just maintain or main gain, whatever you want to call it. Some people will call it whatever they want to call it. Whether that's a waste of time, not a waste of time, all I really care about is when I go to the gym, I am focused on increasing my lifts, increasing my volume. So whether that's increasing weights, increasing reps, little at a time, and slowly, progressively overloading. And then when it comes to runs, I am just trying to run the majority of my runs in like zone 2, easy pace, where I can run as far as I want, build up my aerobic base. And then from time to time, I'll do a mountain run. Not roughly once a week, I'll do a mountain run where I'll go run up a mountain and I'll have my heart rate spiking and then dropping and spiking and dropping. And so you can think of that as more of like VO2 max training, or, your thresholds, or whatever you want to call it, interval training, whatever. I don't take it too seriously, to be honest with you. But despite my body composition not really changing a ton, I probably have gotten a little bit leaner with ease. That's for sure. I don't feel like the way that I'm getting leaner, I'm not forcefully cutting calories. I'm not forcefully doing excess cardio. I'm just doing it because I want to build up my aerobic base. I'm not like, oh my God, I got to do more cardio because I ate a lot yesterday. It's not how I view it by any means. But if I ate a lot yesterday, I know that my cardio session the next day or the day after that probably is going to be pretty good because I got a lot of glycogen and we can probably run that thing. We're going to have energy for that run. And so we can probably build up, to do a bigger run because we're properly fueled going into it. But my nutrition has, I don't want to say drastically changed, but it's changed for the better. It's more expensive, yes, but I eat now, I want to say 90 to 95% whole foods. I really do not like eating processed foods, and I've gone for raw cheeses, raw kefir. Like, I haven't gotten a raw milk because they don't sell it near me. The raw kefir that I've gotten is like technically for dogs, but I put it in my smoothies anyway. Like, I've gone for like trying to get as raw as possible for my foods. Now, that's just an example. I eat eggs all the time, ground beef, chicken, basics, sweet potatoes. I started baking my own sourdough bread, which sounds weird, but I freaking love it. It's awesome because sourdough is amazing. And just picture, busting a warm loaf out of the oven and then that's yours. Like, it's just, there's nothing better. And now I've got it down to a science where like it doesn't take me very long. It just, it infiltrates into my day-to-day routine. So when I want to make a loaf, I know, okay, like 2 days out, 3 days out, I got to start doing this. And we got a loaf set up, ready to go as much as I want, whenever I want. But like, I started to take full control over what I eat. And when I tell you, I have never felt better. I legitimately never have. Mentally, physically. I'm not taking naps midday. I'm also sleeping around 7.5-ish hours a night. Ideally 8 if I can, but it ends up being just under that probably roughly when you average things out. But I have fully focused on that because it makes me feel good. I'm injured less. When I say injured, little minor things like shin splints or this or that. My body tends to have less problems when I'm eating plenty of good stuff. Vegetables, tons of fruit, honey, bananas, peanut butter on the sourdough bread with the honey and salt. Oh my God. Like, you might think it sounds weird because like, oh, you don't have little joys like a little cookie or a little ice cream. I just don't really care for that stuff because the stuff that I like to eat or that I eat makes me feel good the next day and the days after that. And so my body has just gravitated. It's not like I'm forcefully cutting out all these things in my diet. If I want to go have a burger and fries, I'm going to freaking go do that. I don't care. But my body craves certain things. And so in my day-to-day routine, which is like 90 to 95% of the time, I am eating whole foods, single ingredient things, awesome food that tastes good. And I'm not restricting it, which is the best part about it. I'm not restricting it. I don't feel like I'm restricting myself at all. I eat till I'm full. And sometimes I eat even more. And my weight just kind of does this. It's been just kind of fluctuating low 170s. I'm 5'10", low 170s. And that's where we're chilling. So honestly, from a mental, nutritional, physical, like all that stuff, this has been an amazing change. And it's not like running necessarily forced that, because there are some people who run who eat like absolute shit to fuel their runs. But I feel way better doing this. Now, when it comes to the mental side, obviously I feel better. Does it mean that like I'm perfect? No, I go through everyone goes through their ups and downs, but I have to say there's a lot less downs over this past year, despite whatever could be happening in your personal life, whether it's a breakup or whether it's this or that, like moving, like there's a lot of things that have thrown me for a loop, but I get over it fairly fast and we just kind of move on to the next thing, and it is what it is. But it has built incredible discipline and patience. Two things that I've gone through phases in life where I'm pretty disciplined, then I'm not that disciplined, then I'm really disciplined, then I'm not. Patience, something that I've always been battling. I feel like a lot of us always probably do. But because of this, because of running slow, because of knowing that like, hey, we got, we want to run these big races in these cool places, like running fast right now just to pound out a mile or running a couple, like it's not going to do anything. We want to build that base, and the discipline of learning something new, fully, adapting to that, building that into my routine has been amazing. Not only have I seen massive correlations to my own trading results and statistics, but I've seen that in other aspects of my life. You can go back in time, because I have started tracking all this stuff. You could go back in time and, well, I have it. I was not profitable consistently until about April 2023. That just happens to correlate right around the beginning of when I started running. From that point on, I have been the most consistent and dialed in and disciplined in my own trading, which is what I primarily do a lot of on this channel, right? But I'm going to make these videos because they're more unique and they have better value than, whatever else people make these days in the trading space. I don't give a shit what people do. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. But that correlation, you can't, that's something you can't not pay attention to. It is clear. It is clear as day that once I began, recently after I began running, my trading clicked. Now, 5 years in the making, 5+ years in the making, maybe I'm not. Maybe I went through a 1-year streak and I'm going to fall apart. Maybe, I don't know. No idea. But I'll tell you that from a mental standpoint, it has allowed me to click into these different levels of discipline and patience that I've never been able to reach before. And I do really attribute that to my running and to what it's taught me in other aspects of my life. 1 year down, many more to go. I have a 58-mile race, roughly 17,000 feet of elevation gain in the mountains of North Georgia coming up. That one's going to be awesome. I'll be running into the night because the race starts at 8 a.m. and I don't plan on finishing prior to sunset. So that's going to be awesome. That's going to be fun. That's what's coming next. Hope it was helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.